Welcome to Parlor Talks. If you're an owner or manager of a label, folding carton, flexible packaging, or corrugated packaging printing company, this podcast is for you. We'll dive into the latest trends, innovations, strategies, and best practices shaping the package printing industry.
Welcome to the Packaging Parlor podcast. I'm Denise Gustafson, and I'm your host for this episode. Today, I have with me Andy Paparozzi. He is the Chief Economist with Printing United Alliance. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the packaging industry, specifically because there's a new study available. It's the State of the Package and Label Printing Industry, and he just finished it. We're just getting it up on the sites now. So I wanted to dive into some of the findings with him. So Andy, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Great to have you. It's always a pleasure to have you and be able to chat about some of the stuff that you're doing. So to give us a little background, where did this study come from? Because I think it's part of a larger project that you do as part of the Alliance. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Certainly, and you're absolutely right. This study has its roots in our State of the Industry series. Many printers of packaging and labeling participated in our State of the Industry surveys, part of the State of the Industry panel. And they said, this is very helpful. We like it, but we'd really like to have a report specifically for our segment. So for the first time last fall, with the generous sponsorship of Canon, we crafted a survey specifically for package and label printers, launched the survey for the first time. I think it went very, very well. We had 77 participants, and that survey is the basis of the report that we just issued. And we're hoping to do this report and this survey specifically for package and label printers twice per year, sometime in the late spring and then sometime in the fall right before Expo.
All right, perfect. So this is going to be our inaugural version of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess initially is, what did you find? What are package printers really thinking about right now?
Well, the survey covered so many topics, and the package printers talked very frankly about business conditions, and they used terms like turbulent and volatile and unpredictable to describe all overall business conditions. They used terms like reluctant and hesitant to describe client behavior, because clients, just like everyone else, were unsure what to do with the erratic, no one knows what's next tariff policies. The tendency was for clients to delay or to scale back packaging projects. So they were very, very frank about that. And they talked most about the uncertainty that these policies were creating. That really was the root of the challenging business conditions through 2025. The uncertainty, as I mentioned, was causing clients to delay or scale back projects at the very same time that the tariffs were inflating operating costs, creating a textbook example of a profit squeeze. And so much of what the study covered was, okay, that's a frank assessment of what's happening. Now, what are you doing about it? This extraordinary uncertainty, this pressure on margins. How are you addressing it? Are you trying to raise prices, pass some of the costs along? Are you trying to offset the costs by increasing productivity, efficiency? Or are you absorbing much of it to maintain market share? So that was kind of the basis of our discussion was, and by the way, we're hearing that across the printing industry about the tariff-induced profit squeeze. And the rest of the discussion was really about how are we addressing that? What's working? What isn't? And then we talked quite a bit about their plans and expectations for 2026.
That's interesting that you say, this is not, what you're seeing is not limited to just the packaging industry. It's something we're seeing across the board. And you mentioned the industry is volatile. That was one of the words that you mentioned. So you're not saying that the economy's soft. It's not necessarily just slow. It's different, this volatility. So why is that harder for companies to manage than maybe some other situations?
And that's a great point. When you know what's likely ahead, when you have some clarity, even if it's negative, you can adjust. For example, to your point, if you know that business will be slowing, there's a lot you can do. You can double down on cost control, on productivity, on marketing. You can adjust your pricing. You can search for better pricing on the materials and services that you purchase. But it's very, very difficult to manage volatile conditions because what I do this month may be very ineffective next month when business may be better, it may be worse. I really don't know how it's going to change, what it's going to look like. So the tendency becomes for economic activity, hiring, capital investment, to bog down because, again, the natural tendency is to say, I don't know what's ahead. I have no clarity. So why don't I just wait until the clarity is greater? And that's what's happened across the American economy and across the package and label printing industry and our printing industry at large. I don't mean to minimize the effects that tariffs had on operating costs. They absolutely inflated operating costs, and they left package printers, label printers, printers in general with a tough decision about how much do I pass along, how much do I absorb. But the greater effect was this uncertainty because, again, if I know that the tariff on product X is going to be Y%, I adjust to Y%.
You can figure that out.
Exactly. It's very, very difficult to adjust efficiently to policies and conditions that border on the random. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to expect. So what is perfectly natural is to say, I'm going to sit tight until I have a better idea of what to expect. But that's a great point you raised. For that reason, it's harder to manage a volatile, unpredictable environment than it is an environment where you know what's happening, even if it is something negative like a deep economic slowdown. At least there, I know what I'm up against.
But then sometimes wouldn't you say that not making a decision about what to do is a decision in and of itself?
Yeah, and it can be a very costly decision. It's natural, but the problem is you always have to calculate or consider the cost of not making that decision. We calculate the cost of investing. We calculate the cost of hiring. We calculate the cost of launching a new marketing program or a new product. Well, during periods of extreme uncertainty, when the tendency is to sit tight and wait, we always need to calculate the cost of not investing and not moving forward, not making that capital investment, not hiring, not launching that new product or that new marketing program. You always have to be thinking about, am I jeopardizing the long-term success of my company by, to your point, delaying these decisions? Because you always have to consider the risk of falling behind and maybe not being able to catch up.
Things move so quickly. So if you do fall behind, how do you catch up? Can you even catch up in some
You
cases?
might not. That's a great point. You may, in our industry that is so competitive and, to your point, changing so quickly, technology advancing so quickly, we have transformative new technologies such as AI, the Internet of Things, smart robotics. You run a considerable risk of falling behind and possibly not being able to catch up. And that's something, again, that as you look at the environment and as you look at your options, you really have to carefully consider is that danger of maybe falling too far behind. Every time you delay an investment, you're really jeopardizing your long-term profitability growth because investing in capital equipment, in your workforce, again, in product development, those are the foundations of long-term sustainable economic success. And anytime you scale back or delay one of those things, you jeopardize the long-term viability of your company. And again, I know how hard it is to do during periods like this, but my only point is, as you make these decisions and you look at whether I should delay, whether I should move ahead, be sure to consider the cost of not moving ahead, of delaying, of scaling back on your company's long-term prospects.
Yeah, that risk management,
Mhm.
especially when you look at a lot of these companies, it's not just one person with a small staff. A lot of times, especially in the packaging industry, you're talking about pretty large staff. So those decisions can impact hundreds of people if you're going to some of the larger package printers and
Absolutely.
converters, I mean, how many could you have 1,000 under one roof? I
Hmm.
mean, all of those decisions about what you would do, good, bad, otherwise,
Hmm.
it's going to impact so many people. So I can understand the hesitancy you don't want to make a wrong decision, not only just for the company's health, but then that's going to impact all the people that you have within your walls and your
Absolutely.
clients.
Printing United Alliance is the leading member-based printing and graphic arts association in North America with over 70 years of history and more than 20,000 members worldwide. We're here to support printing professionals like you with the tools, resources, and information you need to grow your business, sharpen your skills, and expand your network. Whether you're a printer, supplier, student, or educator, we've built our community to serve everyone who's passionate about the future of print. An Alliance membership is a smart, cost-effective way to stay current on the latest trends, connect with industry leaders, and give your business the competitive edge it deserves. Head over to printing.org/membership to learn more about the memberships we offer. Let's move the printing industry forward together.
So, a little bit about tariffs. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times, but tariffs, obviously, in packaging and in the package industry have had an impact, whether it's on, materials, whether it's on freight, lead times, customer behavior. How are printers reacting, managing it? I know it's hard to really point to one because you say it's so volatile,
Hmm.
but how are all of these things impacting them?
You're right. And among the package and label printers who participated in our survey, 92.3% say that they were affected in one way or another by tariffs, whether directly because of the effects on their supply chains, their operating costs, or indirectly because, as we discussed earlier, clients were now looking and saying, I got to delay this stuff because I don't know what's coming next. 92.3%, practically all of them.
It's just about everybody. Yeah.
Everybody, right? Exactly. It was the story in our industry in 2025. And the package and label printers who participated in our research responded in some combination of three ways. They had a couple of options. One was to raise prices, to try and protect margins, to try and pass at least some of the tariff-induced cost increases along to clients. The other was really, I guess the not the easiest for sure, but the best in terms of long-term profitability. The other, it was to somehow step up productivity, step up efficiency company-wide, and offset the increase in costs by being more productive. Hard to do, but over the long run, the best option. And then the other option was to absorb. And we saw a significant percentage of the package and label printers who participated in our research absorb at least part of the increase in tariff costs to maintain market share. And if I remember correctly, on average, it was 41.9% of the increase in operating costs absorbed, which is a lot.
That's a huge amount.
It's a huge amount, and that's why I say, and again, that's perfectly natural. You think in terms of timing. First thing I want to do, all right, well, wait a minute, I'm not sure where this is all going. Maybe it'll change tomorrow, so for now, maybe it's easiest for me just to absorb the increase. But that eventually is going to eat into your profit margins. That's not a long-term solution. It's perfectly normal that may be your first response. Let's not rock the boat. Who knows the way this is going? It may all change tomorrow anyway. So why
It might pass. Yeah.
right? It might pass. Exactly. Why make a big deal about it? We'll absorb it. Again, the easy thing to do up front, but not the long-term solution. Now, what was interesting was a number of the package and label printers that we surveyed raised prices. But, and this is the key, they spent a lot of time preparing their clients for the price increases. They stepped up communication with clients, talking about why the price increases are necessary, talking about options. Well, We may have supply chain disruptions. We may have order delays. So what are our options? Can we use this material instead of that material? Can we do it this way instead of that way? So they didn't simply raise prices. They went in, kicked up consulting mode, and really invested time in helping clients understand why prices have to increase. And even more important, what are the options? What can we do to make this work for both of us? And then a smaller percentage did increase productivity. I know that's harder, but when you see something, now this has been over a year now that tariff has been mucking things up, and it's likely to continue into next year. At some point, you really need to be thinking, okay, well, as you said, this is not going to just pass. We're going to have to start adjusting, adapting to it. Educating clients on why we need to increase prices and their options is step one. The other thing is finding ways to increase productivity, not just in operations, but company-wide. We're starting to see, or I shouldn't say we're starting to see, I anticipate as we continue these surveys in 2026, I anticipate, or at least I hope, that I see more of the participants in our research passing the cost increases along, educating clients, offsetting them by raising productivity, and significantly fewer absorbing the increases. Because again, that's not the long. I certainly understand it in the short term, but that clearly is not the long-term solution.
No, I mean, for many of these companies, those margins are so tight as is.
Exactly.
Trying to absorb that cost themselves, yes, it could, for a short time, maybe that's a pain point, then they know they're going to move past it. But I think what you said about being that consultant and to really sit down and have those conversations with their customers, they're not easy conversations to
No.
have. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do is come to your client and say, "Hi, I need to raise the
Right.
cost of your job by X.
Right.
Maybe it's 20, maybe it's 30, maybe it's 40% because of this, that, or the other thing." But to be able to work with them, I think that says a lot for the companies that are doing it. I'm guessing those that are doing it are probably the leaders in this industry.
They are. You're absolutely right. Very, very well said. And I used the term investment before to describe that process because it was an investment of time.
Yeah.
You have to prepare for that conversation, as you suggested. It can be a difficult conversation, but the client, what we're finding is that companies that have those conversations, that think through them carefully, they end up coming out of these kinds of disruptions stronger than they went in because they've now deepened their relationships with clients.
They deepen the trust.
Right, exactly. They've deepened the trust. They've established that with the client that, this is a company we can count on. Because remember, the client is in the same position. They've been affected directly or indirectly by these crazy tariff policies, and they're trying to protect their own margins. So when a package printer comes to them as a partner and invests the time to understand and to explain, as you said, they become a trusted partner, and that there is going to be another disruption. This is the second time in 5 years we've had major supply chain disruptions. First because of COVID, now because of crazy tariff policies. It's going to be something else. There's going to be another problem, whether it's a recession, whatever, and that client is going to remember who helped them through the last problem, the previous disruption. And these folks are building a lot of capital, goodwill with their clients by investing time and having those discussions.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, sitting down with the client saying, "Look, you want to do this project. We still want to make sure we can accomplish this for you. But if we change the substrate, we'll be able to save you money. It'll take into account whatever tariff increases we have. It'll actually not cost you anymore. It's going to look the same, but we just have to make this change. And it's an easy fix." Maybe that's rare, but in some cases that is a fix.
For sure.
Is it a shorter run? There's things that we can do that you're not compromising the integrity of the product, the integrity of the brand, but there's ways to still get the job done that makes everyone happy. Is it a slower release? Instead of the full job all at once, do we do pieces of it as, shorter runs in the meantime, in the short term, until things maybe change? And honestly, in a month, it could be a different situation anyway.
Exactly. And again, look at the goodwill you've built by having those discussions. That really helps lock a client in because now you've shown them that you are interested in their success.
Definitely. Now, for a lot of these clients, in looking at, they're still looking to see how they can gain market share, maybe even
Mhm,
gain share of wallet with some of these
mhm.
clients. How important is it for them, with everything going on, to look at like diversification as a strategy? Is that something that people are doing, or is that something that they're kind of not looking into at this point?
They are doing it. In fact, we have those numbers. One of the questions we asked in the report was which specialties or segments are you servicing beyond package and label printing? And significant percentages had moved into commercial and wide format graphic and sign production, some even into promotional product imprinting. But yes, to your point, quite frankly, more than I expected have diversified beyond package and label printing. And you can see the exact numbers in the report. But what's interesting is the companies that are doing it successfully. And there's a big difference between diversifying and diversifying profitably. They are doing very, very rigorous due diligence. They are looking at an opportunity, an option. Let's call it an option. They're looking at an option. I can move into this segment. I can move into that segment. I can move into a different type of packaging, different type of label production, whatever it is. There's an option. And what they're doing is extensive due diligence. They'll read the trade press. They'll learn from packaging impressions. They'll learn from Printing United Alliance, and then they'll use a tool like the Product Market Opportunity Matrix or the Kagan Opportunity Assessment. Rigorous tools designed specifically to evaluate options, and they'll, I'm going to use the term again, invest time in this type of analysis. This type of analysis forces you to consider how well an option fits your company's specific resources, capabilities, and circumstances. You have to look at costs. You have to look at market potential. You have to look at the availability of resources, everything you're going to need to not simply enter that market, but enter profitably. So to answer your question, yes, they continue to diversify, quite frankly, more extensively than I had anticipated when we did the survey. But it's not a seat of the pants type thing, or quite frankly, I went to a conference and somebody talked about this, so I got to get into that. They're doing rigorous analysis. Again, from reading sources such as reliable sources, such as packaging impressions, to using tools such as the Kagan Opportunity Assessment and the Product Opportunity Evaluation Matrix. They're putting a lot of thought into it, a lot of time into the analysis, and they're tending now to get it. That greatly increases your chances, again, of not simply diversifying, but diversifying profitably.
They're making a mindful, intentional decision at that point.
Well, that's exactly right. Because something may work for that company that doesn't quite work for me because, again, our circumstances are different. What they don't do, Denise, is they don't follow the crowd. They don't go into something because it's creating a lot of buzz. To your point, they're making a mindful decision that, you know what, based on very rigorous analysis, due diligence, extensive due diligence, this fits or it doesn't fit, no matter how much buzz it's creating. Right now, for whatever reason, it is not a fit for us. Our odds of making a profit are not good.
Yeah, and it's something that they need to really come to terms with, because
Mm-hmm.
honestly,
Mm-hmm.
looking at all the printing companies in the industry, they all have very similar equipment.
Mm-hmm.
But what always interests me is how they use that equipment
Mm-hmm.
and where they make their investments, how they make their investments, the products that they do. Like I said, in some cases, everybody has the same widget or
Yeah.
whatever that press is. You know what I mean? But it's so interesting on how they implement the technology,
Mm-hmm.
how they interface with their clients. That's where that secret sauce ends up
Mm-hmm.
being. It's really those relationships, as we've been talking about,
Right.
and making those mindful decisions about where we need to expand.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Now, you've said, a time investment. That's one of the things that a lot of printers are looking forward to in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So What other things are these package and label printers investing in, especially as we're moving into 2026?
We asked exactly that in the survey, and there was a long list of most desired investments. And what we asked, Denise, was about their most desired investments, the investments they would most like to make that they believe would be of greatest benefit to their operations. And long list, they talked about two things that didn't surprise me, but I thought of the entire list were most significant. One was artificial intelligence.
Not surprising,
Not
obviously.
surprising. 3 years ago, that would never, ever have been on the list of most desired investments. And that's what I find very encouraging. As to use 3 years ago, it wasn't even on our radar. Today, it's not surprising at all that it is among the top investment priorities, most desired investments, learning about AI, figuring out how and where it can most benefit my company, staying on top of it. And it's so good to see, as you said, it is not surprising because that is a must do. I don't know how you survive in any industry if you're not learning about this transformative technology that is the most significant technological development of our lifetime. The other investment that I found very insightful was what I call business intelligence systems, the MISs, the enterprise resource planning, the CRMs. Now, why was that so significant? And, we asked folks, why that investment? Of all the investments you can make, why business intelligence systems? And it fits so perfectly with everything they told us. They said, because during periods of extreme volatility, the better information you have, the more likely you're able to make superior decisions. And they talked about how we are now in a knowledge business. We need to have a clearer picture of what's happening internally and externally, what's likely ahead, and how to make it all an opportunity rather than a threat. So advanced business intelligence systems combined with artificial intelligence applications give us the kind of superior market knowledge, superior data that will support consistently superior business decisions. And I thought, again, that was very, very consistent and supportive of everything else they had described. And it basically said, it's more than we need to be data-driven. We have to have the right data. And they also talked about, and I thought this was very interesting, they talked about how AI is allowing us to analyze data that we could never analyze efficiently before. We talk about the AI big data revolution. And some of these folks are talking now about how not only can we analyze efficiently financials and market structure and number of companies, stuff that traditional Excel and database spreadsheets could handle very, very well. Now, artificial intelligence applications lets us bring unstructured data, audio files, video files, text files, what our clients are saying on social media, their calls to our customer service center, this vast new set of knowledge that we really could never analyze effectively before. Artificial intelligence applications now let us draw conclusions, draw insights from this data, and obviously the scope and size and diversity of unstructured data is growing a lot faster than structured data because everything we do now leaves a data trail. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing package and label printers, but some printing industry leaders across our industry at large begin to really use AI to analyze all this unstructured data. They're really advancing into the kinds of things that we really could never do before, but AI allows us to do. So anyway, to answer your question, that's all part of this idea, this concept, or this goal of building a superior, broad base of market intelligence through AI, through big data, through business intelligence systems, all integrated, that will support consistently superior business decisions in any business climate. And that's really how the leaders across our industry are thinking. And that's very advanced, and it's very, I find it very gratifying and encouraging to see the number of companies. Those are the companies that are going to excel in 2000 far beyond. They really are redefining their companies, they're redefining their relationships with their clients, what they know about the clients. And again, they're going to consistently make superior business decisions regardless of the economic climate because they have superior market knowledge. So that's why those two investments, but you'll see a whole list of things they want to invest in, but I thought those two were the most significant.
I would agree with you because honestly, those are two things that have probably also changed the most in the last 5 years. Like you said, AI was not something we were talking about even 3 years ago. But I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. We are surrounded by information. Does there come a point in time where we are gathering too much information and then you have like that paralysis that you can't actually make a decision?
Yeah,
Where,
absolutely.
where do you draw that line?
No, that's a great point. That's one of the things that when you read articles about using AI and the capabilities AI now gives us to analyze vast quantities of data, these data scientists talk about avoiding the data rabbit hole,
Oh, God, yes.
going down to your point, because that leads to analysis, paralysis by analysis, as you said, and that is something that we have to that's now a skill that we have to cultivate, is how to do data analysis and how to be able to use AI to cull out the data or to identify the data that is of most relevance to us, that is going to be of greatest value to us, and sort of ignore everything else. And the AI applications in their ability to learn by doing, they get good at that. If you are skilled in working with AI applications and you can direct them and the right prompts, they will be able to figure out that for what this company is trying to do, this data is most valuable and will ignore everything else. And that's where, the skill sets in the industry, we need skills we never needed before, one of which is going to be the ability to get AI to do what we need it to do and to help take full advantage of these machine learning applications. The big advantage is that they learn by doing, and the more data they are exposed to, the better they get at forecasting, analysis. But you have to have someone that's providing direction so they know what data is most valuable. So that's very important because it is very easy to get lost in the data.
Like you said, you can add all kinds of files now. Do you pull literally every single solitary piece of data? Do you go looking for everything,
Mm-hmm.
dump it into that funnel to make that decision? Or when's enough is enough? You don't need more. It's not going to change the outcome significantly either way.
Well, that's a great point. It's not going to change. And, people like me have been doing this their whole careers. Of course, we had to do it first manually, and then with these Excel spreadsheets, you had to look at a lot of data and say, this stuff isn't helping me. This stuff is where I've got to concentrate. And you're absolutely right. Now we have vast quantities of data we could never, ever handle with traditional methods, even the most advanced spreadsheets. But that's where AI can help. If we understand clearly it starts with the human, understanding clearly what the objective is. What is my objective to forecast demand in this market? Or is my objective to track and forecast developments in this supply chain? What is the exact objective? Then I can help AI find the data that is of greatest value to me.
Yeah,
That's a skill set.
Yeah, being specific and knowing exactly what you want, lest you go down that rabbit hole.
Right, exactly. And then being able to tell AI, well, wait a minute, that's not as helpful as this. This is where I'd like you to investigate further. And that's what that's where we have to, where we have to go with all of this, is really developing those skills to work with AI so we can build the kind of superior knowledge bases we need without, to your point, getting lost in the data and going down a rabbit hole where we accomplish absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up, one thing I wanted to ask is, for those listening to this podcast, based on your knowledge of the industry and now especially this new survey that we have, if there is one decision that package and label printers should be thinking about right now, actively reviewing, what would that be?
Well, I think it's something we discussed earlier. I think right now you really need to add an analysis of the cost of not investing, because the tendency is going to be to sit tight until the outlook clears and you have better idea of what's likely ahead. Perfectly natural. Frankly, that's what the majority of businesses in and outside our industry are doing. But I would strongly suggest you reconsider that and bring into your analysis careful, rigorous thought about, if I delay or if I scale back now this investment in capital equipment, workforce development, this new product expansion, new promotional campaign, if I do that now, what's that going to cost me? What is the likelihood that, as you said earlier in our discussion, I'm going to fall behind and I'm not going to be able to catch up? As opposed to, if I figure out a way to make that investment now while everybody is sitting still, sitting tight, what kind of advantage is that going to give me? And, that's because I see, and again, it's perfectly natural that folks want to just say, you know what, I don't want to make that CapEx yet. I don't want to hire yet. I don't want to launch that product yet. Let me wait until I've got some idea of what the environment's going to look like. The folks who are going to come out of this strongest are going to be moving ahead with their plans, priorities, and investment. Now, let me just finish by saying that does not mean we rush into anything. It means we do rigorous due diligence and we invest time in finding out what our best option is. We've talked about investing time frequently in our discussion, and I know how scarce time is. But right now, that's probably the best investment you could make. Investing time with the customers, as we talked earlier, investing time with analysis of what can I move forward with right now? What is my best opportunity for coming out of this uncertainty and volatility stronger than we went in? And that's what happens during every market disruption, whether it's economic, technological, but political, like tariffs. Some companies come out stronger than they went in. And they are companies that make the investment in figuring out what I can do now to move ahead with my plans and my priorities and in my investments, while everyone else is kind of sitting still, waiting for clarity. The tendency is to wait for clarity. The opportunity is to create clarity for your company, for your employees, through this kind of rigorous due diligence and market analysis. And that's the one thing I would get across, because I see too many companies across our industry waiting, and they may have a long wait. And as you said so well earlier in our discussion, if you wait too long in our industry now, the way things are changing, you're going to find that you may have fallen too far behind.
People are going to pass you right by.
Right, exactly.
So, Andy, thank you so much for taking some time today. This was an amazing discussion, and I'm sure we're going to have some other discussions as we move through the year, as we get other surveys and studies out. So for now, for those people that want to download a copy, where can we find it?
It will be at printing.org. Members can download the entire report as part of their membership. You'll see it right up there. And if you do have any questions on the report, or also, Denise, as you said earlier, this is our inaugural report. You got to start somewhere with this stuff. If folks have a question or a suggestion, boy, I'd love to see you folks ask about this or investigate this, or I want to know more about this. Let us know, because it's wide open. We'll be doing these surveys twice a year. So when you download the report, you read it, let us know what else we should be including.
And if they want to become part of the panel that can actually provide you with some of the information, is that a possibility as well?
Exactly. If you want to participate in the surveys, and there are some benefits of doing that. And again, any questions or any suggestions, this is step one. We've got a long way to go, but I think we're off to a good start.
I think so too. There's a lot of great information in this study, and I'll be sure to include all the links as part of our show notes, a link directly to the study itself, and then also to become a panel member if possible. So, Andy, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
My pleasure, Denise. Thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.